Oh, well, hey everyone, welcome back to the cabin. Yeah, believe that? Outside, really. What is this, March 12th? And we've got snow on the ground. It's not as bad as what they were saying yesterday. My son actually called me, warning me from Texas about the weather system that was coming through. And then, of course, Jennifer did, or maybe Jennifer mentioned something about it first, and then my son called. But they were saying that it may snow up to about 6 inches in the mountains and that we might get up to 40-mile-an-hour winds today. And I was kind of a little bit worried about that because there are still 3 remaining large pine trees between the outdoor kitchen and the chicken house. One of them is probably about 22 inches in diameter, and I really wanted to save it because it is one of the pines with the big long furry needles. Very beautiful tree. And it breaks my heart, but the more and more I think about it, because I've watched it in the last couple of storms that we've had when there was no snow, and it was just rocking like this in the wind. And of course the other ones that are skinny, that are actually bent, they were part of the original ones I was going to take down. I just didn't get around to it. Because I had made up enough lumber on the project that I was actually working on at the time. But those 2 skinny ones that are leaning, they still need to come out. But that one was kind of leaning back up the hill towards the chicken house a little bit. So I really wasn't concerned about it, and wasn't thinking, well, if I get a good gust that actually comes down the ridge enough to straighten it up, okay, if it was any stronger, then it would actually be leaning this way. And of course, it being top heavy and about 22 inches diameter at the base, and just, it's probably 85 feet tall. Very beautiful tree. But like I said, if the wind got up enough to straighten it up and bring it in this direction, if it did decide to fall at that point, it would come down and it would get the cabin. So it breaks my heart, like I said, but I've been watching, especially when I heard that it was going to snow, and if it was going to be a wet snow and ice, just adds more weight to it, and then snow up on top of that, adding more weight, and also giving the wind something, if it all adhered to the top, giving the wind something to catch, to blow it, or more to catch, to blow it. And I thought, I can't worry about this every time we get, a little wind or storm coming through, especially if I wasn't here, I would be worried all the time until I got back home if I knew that a system had come through. So I think when the weather changes, I'm going to go ahead against, what I really wanted to do, which is, like I said, save it. I think I'm going to have to go ahead and take it down because, I do have to protect the cabin. It was quite a bit of work for one guy to do, and I certainly wouldn't want to start all over or have to repair the damage to something, especially since I just worked my way into being in here. So I've got plenty of woods, I've got plenty of trees. So I think what I'm going to do, like I said, when you're living off the grid, on a homestead, on a farm, on a ranch, anything within those parentheses, etc., things change on a daily basis, and this has kind of come into being a priority of, like I said, not having to worry about the existing structure. So as the weather changes, I will probably make use of that, being, the first nice weather of the new year. I'll probably start at least laying those trees down and trying to work them up as I go, because I've been trying to clean up, but if I just create a bigger mess, then, so it may trump quite a bit of activity that I had planned prior to coming, into these decisions. So, like I said, I hate that, but I can't, worry about the cabin. So, thought I would make myself some coffee and sit down and chit chat with you all, and we will talk about some of the things that are happening up here at the cabin. Well, I'll tell you what, nice hot cup of coffee on a chilly day like today certainly does taste good. Cheers. It's not Maxwell House, but it's good to the last drop. I was sitting here actually looking at some things that I wanted to make some coffee first and show you all what it was looking like outside when I woke up. I was very, very thankful that we didn't get nearly as much as what they said. Of course, it's still snowing. It was supposed to snow from the heaviest between 9 and noon. And it is actually high noon right now, and it's still coming down pretty good. So it might linger on a little bit longer than what they said, but like I said, the brunt of it, I would hope, has already passed, and we don't get a lot of the higher winds that they were talking about midday, like right around now, or anytime thereafter. So it just makes me feel a whole lot better, because there was actually a couple of hours that I was pacing the floor, going back and forth from side to side, just watching, you know, the wind and what it was going to do. Now, we did get some that I think did reach basically it was like 9 miles per hour. Most of the time it was supposed to get up in the 30s and up close to 40 at other times, but I don't think it's quite reached that. So I'm very thankful for that. It just makes me feel more at ease, you know, especially since the trees are hanging heavy with ice and snow. Mention this telephone right here as belonging to my grandfather. And there's a little bit of the story behind this actual telephone. I did, for those of you that may be new or those of you that may not know, I spent almost 30 years with the Bell system. And this particular phone is actually called a 500 set. And I can't tell you how many of those that I worked on during the time of my career. I'm going to tell you a trade secret. Now, this is not anything that you would find archived anywhere, because it's been passed down from generation to generation by word only. Because it is, like I said, a trade secret, so it's not anything that you're going to find in any archives anywhere. There's no telling how many of these I have actually worked on during my career. We did carry like maybe one brand new 500 set. We had a 2500 set, which was, I think, the oval shaped. We had different types of sets, you know, the basic foundation, and then you had different colors of. Now, raise your hand. How many of you remember Mom's telephone in the kitchen that was canary yellow? That big base that hung on the wall with the big long, 25-foot extension cord some people wanted? Or we had pink, or we had white, or we had beige and black and brown and red and different colors. Honestly, we had more colors of just the plastic portion that went on top. Now you would have to go back several decades prior to that to find the old metal frame, which I used to have the box with the microphone sticking out and then the receiver that you would actually pick up, you know, the crank type phone. I have no idea what happened to it. But anyway, this phone right here, the story, like I said, behind it, and the trade secret is this. If you had trouble with the telephone, we would pick it up, we would leave a new one, we would package that up, send it off to Western Electric, because that's who made them. I don't know if they still do, but we would send it off to Western Electric. They would repair it, put a new cover on it, and send it right back to us. And so then that phone would ride on the truck until we had to go replace another one. So the phone that we got back with a brand new cover, maybe 25, maybe 30 years old, they lasted forever, it seemed like. And it would just go right back out. So that is the trade secret behind these telephones. There's no telling when you got your new phone exactly how old the insides were, because it was just quality stuff. It was made really well and it lasted a long time. You know, I think there's a couple of career guys that actually follow the channel that are either retired phone men or current phone men, and so that they'll know what I'm talking about if they've been there any length of time. But yeah, I spent 28 years there, had enough time that I could, entitled that I could actually go ahead and leave, and I pursued another career, which was the medical field, and then decided once I started building this cabin and we actually started this channel, I was having fun you know, videoing and doing that, and then I was old enough that I could actually start drawing Social Security. So I said, you know, and that's when everything began to get crazy around the world. So I said, you know, it's just time for me to bail, and I got things set up. And so now currently I am you know, a full-time videographer, I guess you could say, do-it-yourself builder of a working homestead. So anyway, but I thought that like I said, I thought that I would share that trade secret with you guys. Now, this phone did actually belong to my grandfather, and a lot of times I can remember when I would call him up, he would answer, and I'd say, "What are you up to?" He'd say, "Oh, just riding around." So I knew he was basically at this age he was homebound. You know, he couldn't really go anywhere, but that was his phrase. You know, "Oh, not a whole lot, just riding around." But yeah, this was the old 500 set, and you know, this one was hardwired too, back into that metal what they called an RJ11C, which was the jack that we would mount on the wall. But this one was actually hardwired, because this particular phone right here was put in back when there were still party lines here in Tennessee. I can't remember. I think we were on a 4-party line. It may have been an 8-party, because a lot of times you would pick up the phone, there would be people talking, and you would just politely put it back down, you know. Then you go check later on, you know, if you need to make a phone call, make sure nobody was using the phone, and they were still on it, you would have to put it back down. Now, in the event of an emergency, that's all you had to do was say something, and they would hang up, and you could immediately use the phone. I actually worked in West Texas when they were just, they called it Texas First, which was a plan back in the 80s. Well, no, it went up to the beginning of the 1990s, where they were doing away with all of their party lines, changing everything over to a private line. Now, I will tell you, some of the ranchers out there, they got really smart, because what they would do is they would buy a 4-party line, but they would buy all 4-party positions, so there wasn't another party on that line. Because if you were outside the city limits, at that time the standard was 50 cents a mile added to your phone bill, okay, for however many miles you lived outside the city limits. And what we had to do was basically, you know, go out, install the phone. They had it figured up on a grid how much you would pay, because you were, like I said, that far outside the city limits. So what they would do to avoid buying a private line and having to pay those charges, They actually bought all 4 party positions. They had to pay a minimal price, but yet, you know, there was basically 3 positions that they didn't use, but they didn't need to, because all I had to do was have that phone wired to where it would ring on whatever party they were assigned. Let's say party 1, that the phone would ring whenever somebody called, whether it was 2 shorts, 2 longs, a long and a short. You know how that went, where they could answer their phone. That way nobody else interrupted them, because they were basically, that's what they called an exclusive 4-party line. Anyway, I'm giving away, or I'm telling on myself right now about aging myself, I guess you should say. Of course, I already did that when I said I'm collecting Social Security, right? But no, that was back in, this happened even up into the 90s. Okay, so if you're young and you're watching this, that's probably not too much. If you weren't born at that time, that's not too much before you were born. Technology has really moved fast in the last couple of decades, but up until that point right there, I mean, when they first came out with computers, you know, we were barely making it. Even right here where I'm at, the best you can do through the local phone company is still dial-up, because this cabin sits 5 miles away from the nearest carrier as far as the line goes, the way that the line is built in here, and that won't support internet. So, and there's no fiber out here, because you know, the power company was just out here trimming the line, and they do good just to keep the power going, much less, you know, anything cable TV or anything else hanging on those poles. So my point is that, you know, if you get something here, it's either going to have to come from you know, like a cellular service, which I do get 2 bars of LTE, but a lot of times it tells me I'm not connected to the internet, but yet it remains there. And I can get phone calls all the time, but I can't access Facebook, I can't access Instagram a whole lot. So, you know, it's funny how that works. Or by satellite, which would probably be even slower than that. So until that technology as far as cellular service changes to where it does better, I'm pretty much stuck with this until I can get maybe a high gain device that might boost my signal a little bit to be able to you know, change things here a little bit. But I still drive to Jennifer's, you know, once a week. I'm gone about 6-7 hours, you know, away from the house. I leave the dogs here, and I go to upload videos there. I'm talking about driving time included generally, and getting back home. And all this is after church. So my weekends are pretty busy just trying to upload videos to get them out to you guys. Anyway, but yeah, that's some of the trade secrets of the Bell system. Well, you know, that's funny, because it's not really trade secrets, you know. It's because, you know, the stuff that they had was good quality stuff, and it would just go and go and go. Like some of those old 8N tractors, okay, those old Ford tractors, or just like some of those old Model T cars, or anything else that was built back in the day. They took more time, plus the, you know, the material was better, it was a lot more durable, it lasted longer. So, you know, it just stands to reason that things made back then would last a little bit longer. And today it's all about, you know, have it now, get it out there, you know, impulse buying and things like that, and people actually suffer for that. But anyway, the weather patterns also, you know, the mountains can change a whole lot of things. So the system that was coming through here, you know, may have got, I guess, diverted, or maybe it was too low, and the mountains, you know, accepted a whole lot of that. It depends, you know, on just a lot of different factors, because the mountains can change everything. They may predict something that's really not going to be anything, and once it hits the mountains, it turns into something, you know, enormous. Or they may be, like I said, you know, this storm that they were predicting was supposed to be enormous, but yet, you know, it's kind of come through very softly. So, you know, you're kind of on your toes in any type of weather alert, because you don't know if it's even going to be magnified over what they were talking about. You never know what's going to happen, but thank goodness it wasn't too much, you know, and The dogs are content, was just kind of laying around here. I let them out this morning. They went out and they went to the bathroom. They walked around a little bit, but then they were hanging out on the porch. I opened the door and they just kind of walked back in. I sat down, I watched a movie, and then, you know, they're camped out right here. So maybe it's just going to be a lazy day here at the cabin. Anyway, guys, you know, as far as the comments go, we haven't had that many. You know, we've been working on the pig pen up here, got that complete, and now you've seen Porky. But hey, you know, everything is doing well up here at the Outpost. Basically just comments that we're getting that, you know, good job. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video here, and I'll talk to you more about when we get other comments. Appreciate you guys stopping by and tuning in. My son, my daughter, and I, we can't thank you enough for all the support that you give us on both of our channels. If you're new to this channel, be sure and go check out our main channel, Smoky Mountain Outpost. That's where we do all the work. Guys, we hope that each and every one of you have a great day. You all take care, and I hope that it's not like this where you're at. I hope the sun is shining and the weather is warm and you can get out and do some things that you've been waiting on all year round. Anyway, y'all take care. Have a great day. We look forward to seeing you back up here at the cabin again next time.